I think the more I do the one-on-one stuff and the consulting, the more I just truly want to educate people. You know, in an ideal world, not that I want everyone to learn this stuff, because it's really hard. It takes a long time to learn how to put these pieces together and whatever. But my goal is to teach people to look deeper. You know, because it's like we get so many people that come in and they're like looking for the perfect diet or the whatever, you know, and especially been through several cycles of trying to diet and overtraining. It's like your body's stressed out, it's malnourished probably, you're not getting enough food. You've done this several times. Like there's something that's not.
Yeah, there's something that you're not even looking at.
Yeah, if you get to a certain point with your health and like your body, and it's pretty easy to maintain it, you know, because your system's in a better, more optimized place. And I mean, I still have stuff pop up and I'm learning more and I try things out and do all the things, but I think that's my goal with that. I'd love to educate on a larger scale and help people kind of put the whole picture together.
Yep. I have a couple of things I want to ask you, so that way we just get right off the bat to like the detailed things.
Yeah.
Explain to me very simply, what do you do for a living? Like if you had to come sit and put it together.
I help people dive deeper and figure out the stuff that they've never been able to figure out about their bodies, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But we look at the deeper things. I mean, everyone's tried to get healthy several times and it doesn't work out because they're missing the piece of a deeper puzzle, which is the internal system. Everything starts on the internal.
So then major function for you is really like testing and understanding what's wrong with people on a physical level. Is that right?
I call it whole body optimization.
Okay.
Right? So it's all pieces of the system. I mean, you have your nutrition and how much you're getting in and your workouts. That's fine. That's part of it to optimize. But if you can't utilize the things correctly that your body needs to use the glucose and the calories, or to expend it properly at the gym, or to recover well, if your hormone profile is off, or just even on an immune system level, if those cells are not performing, then there is something missing from that system, and that is always going to carry over into something else. Stress, hormones, nutrient deficiencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So top 3 things that you would say are like what you primarily do, right? What you get the most juice out of, I guess.
What I get, like what I figure out the most from?
Yeah. So what kind of testing, what kind of things for people do you primarily usually use over and over?
Yeah. Well, I would say there's 4 main tests that I do, and that would be there's so many, but you really want to cater it to the client's symptoms.
Oh, okay. So rather than just going through what tests you do, really it's important to just figure out what's their problems and then what's the most important things to test on them.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes what you see manifested in like a blood panel, like if you just did a metabolic and hormone panel, you might see some major imbalances or whatever, but it goes way deeper than that. And so on an ideal level, you could do 500 different kinds of tests and panels and put it all together and see, where is this starting? Is there any immune system dysfunction on a cellular level and inflammation that's trickling to here? And this is why the minerals aren't there. And this is why then this hormone, is aromatizing too much. It gets that deep. So I think that's the part that's tough, is unless you're willing to go that deep, then you are still, treating at a mediocre level.
Yeah.
So, but there's still so much that can be done here that will carry over into there. So, but the main 4 I would say that I enjoy doing the most to look at are like a GI map.
GI map. Okay.
Yeah, it's a DNA stool analysis test, and it's a quantifiable test. There's other different GI tests out there where they look at kind of like a scale of results, but it's not like a quantifiable number where you then can treat, it'd be like doing a blood test and it's like, oh, your testosterone's low. And it's like, well, how low is it?
But it's not giving exact numbers, so that way
It'll
can
give you a
test
number,
and
but
measure.
it's based on a smaller sample, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's the way they process it.
Well, help me out with that. So this GI map, like what are one of the numbers that you're getting from it?
Yeah, so exact values. So like in the GI map, being that it's a DNA test, it's a stool test. I don't analyze the samples, thankfully. I send them to a lab, like at home. They measure under a microscope the sequencing in that sample. So it's not just how much came across it at a certain point. There's other gut zoomer tests and different things. I don't know the exact analytical
number
point,
of what you're looking for.
but the technology is called qPCR, which just means that it's the way that the sample is run, which makes it a quantifiable number test. Unless someone says it's a qPCR test, if it's based off of DNA, they can't give you that exact value number.
Got it. It has to fall in that category for you to be able to do something with it.
Is that specific? So you did a test. I've had to send people in to go get tests with a GI doctor, colonoscopies. I had a girl get a parasite. Had to get flagged I had to report her to the health department in the state that she lived in. I got a call, and they're like, "You're legally liable to have to report this because of the quantifiableness of the validity of the test."
Yeah.
And then another one, I had to go send her in for I'm like, you could have colon cancer, you could have, like, her inflammatory markers were so high in her GI tract that I was like, this is very, yes. So she, would do that. But they can take this test and they can order the colonoscopy or whatever they need based off of this test. It's like most of the time if you went in, you're like, hey, I'm concerned about this number. And they're like, we need to do another test to make sure that this is a valid reading.
Yeah.
Whereas this test, you could just be like, oh, here you go.
So GI map.
Yeah.
What's another one?
Well, I do comprehensive metabolic and hormone tests, so just blood work.
Got it.
Some saliva stuff, but yeah, just assessing certain metabolic markers and hormone values.
And so we really main stuff in there like testosterone, estrogen, cholesterol, things like that.
Yeah, and I run some other stuff like a PTH or ACTH or like a GGT. We're looking a little bit more deep with the hormone stuff. Like the thyroid panels are free and total numbers. So not only what is the total number, but like what percentage of that is your system actually using. So some of that's important.
Is that like the difference between testosterone and free testosterone?
Yeah, like a free and total and percent free.
Got it.
So yeah, what are you actually binding? SHBG, if that's high or low.
So a comprehensive metabolic test, and this people might be a little bit more have heard of before. What's another one?
The testing. I do HTMA, mineral and heavy metal testing. So it's an actual hair sample that we're taking to analyze the actual levels in the tissue.
Okay.
If you get a blood test for minerals, it's showing what's in your blood. Your blood's always going to prioritize getting those minerals in the blood, needs to have that. But like I said, the PTH test, if that level is high, you could be potentially pulling calcium from your bone into your blood just to keep your calcium levels up, which is
not a good thing.
Most of the time what happens because people's levels are so low that they start leaching it and their blood is pulling it from their tissue.
And is that because they're not getting enough calcium or their body just isn't utilizing the calcium that they're taking in?
Could
be both, I guess.
There's synergistic and antagonistic relationships when it comes to minerals, and this is the part that I got so into, is that if you take calcium alone, you will drive your magnesium down.
Okay.
If you don't have enough sodium and potassium in your actual, not just your blood, but in your tissue, because your tissues need it too. Sodium and potassium are what hydrate the actual inner cell, who create that pump. You will never get your potassium and magnesium levels up in the tissues where they need to be. Or if you have extremely high sodium but not enough potassium, you'll still be dehydrated because those two work together to keep hydration. But those 4 minerals work very closely together.
Yeah.
And so if you have major imbalances within those, it creates a lot of issues in the tissues and the cells. And minerals drive glandular function, your pituitary gland, your adrenals, your thyroid. So people who have super high calcium, magnesium tend to have really low energy, no adrenal activity, just low, bottomed out. Like sodium and potassium are like excitable minerals. They give us energy. They boost.
So how beneficial is it that because I am, have really been into taking my electrolytes first thing in the morning. I take like one of those packets of electrolytes.
Yeah.
Is that useful? Like, am I doing something that's helpful?
It can be for most people, and a lot of it depends on your diet, like what kind of water you drink. If you drink purified water or distilled water, or if you drink, tap water. Like there's a lot of sodium in tap water. People don't realize like how much salt and other crap is in there. Or even just like they think they're fridge water. Like most of the time, if you test a fridge water, it's like just as terrible as the tap water. It's like not great.
Because the filtration system on it is kind of nothing.
No. And even a Brita, like if you use a Brita filter, there's something called the TDS meter, and it's told to dissolve solvents, and you can buy them cheap on Amazon. The filters I got came with it, and you can test the water, and it doesn't tell you what minerals are in there, but it's telling you the amount of stuff
besides water that's in there.
Yeah. So it could be dirt. It could be.
This year's Winter Warrior is going to be at Harley-Davidson of North Scottsdale. The Winter Warrior is our charity to commemorate Mitch Winters, who took his own life in 2021. Mitch was a Marine veteran and Arizona police officer. What we do is put on a full day of fitness and community building. All of the money from this event goes to one local veteran family who we can completely change their life. The entrance to this event is a Winter Warrior shirt, and the cost is as much as you can donate. So it is completely a donation-based event. We just ask that you donate the money, get the shirt, and invite a friend to come with you. For more information, click the link in the bio, sign up, and meet us out here on February 22nd.
Who knows what minerals could be,
Yeah.
There's an app too that someone showed me the other day. And you can sign up, and Arizona has like the worst water, but there's like toxic levels of many things.
Why is our water so bad? I've heard this from so many people. And coming from
I don't know.
St. Louis, one of the first things I noticed, I thought our water out here was great. I remember drinking the water and being like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Compared to dirty St. Louis water.
Right.
And I don't know why I think St. Louis is so bad, but I would taste it. And what it would remind me of is, so St. Louis is on the Mississippi River. It was like, it's like dirty mud water.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like the Mississippi is. Out here, I felt like it was like, I don't know, like clean spring water or something.
I don't know the reason. I don't know if it has to do with like crops and farming in California or the pesticides or I don't know. But you can get high levels of arsenic and cadmium and all the crap in just through your water. Like you can get viruses and bacteria through the water.
All kinds of stuff.
And it's just gross when you see it. And the insides of the pipes sometimes are just awful. Lots of fluoride, lots of halides and bromides clog our receptors. That's why we can't get iodine from our systems a lot of times. It's because our receptors are clogged up.
Jesus.
So,
okay. So GI map, I like that. The comprehensive metabolic test. The HTMA, which I was actually looking about, which was cool. That's one of your things on your Instagram. And when I click through it, you can read all about it. That was really, I had never really, you hear about hair testing, right? But I don't even know what they're testing for. When I think hair testing before, I think of when I was a kid and they were like, we're going to test you to see if you're doing drugs.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only thing that I think of.
And you can see heavy metals in there, which is cool because if you have any heavy metals in your tissues, it will disrupt your entire cellular function. And people don't realize how much of your mental health is affected by your mineral balance and how much issues. So like someone like me who's, wired and has people have a lot of anxiety and whatever, they tend to have like higher sodium levels in their system because it activates their adrenals. So they can be too high and they may not have enough of the calming calcium and magnesium. And if you look at the electrolytes, the amounts in them, and it's hard to know unless you're used to studying like how much you should be getting and whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had to put people on like 4 times the amount of minerals with cofactors that help the absorption. You have to understand the relationships between the two. If this is low and this is low, it means that could be driving this up. Or if this is too high, you need more of this, but only this much, because it'll start to drive it down. So you don't want to stop doing this. So it's kind of like a spider web. Like you do one thing and it moves. And hormones are similar.
Yeah, totally.
But in different ways. And so, people have dental fillings, mercury dental fillings, or, I mean, vaccines have it in there. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get a lot of the toxicity in your system, but it just drives your whole system out of
whack,
out of control. And so you can have high, just from being a gland being overactive, it'll start to retain too high of calcium, or whatever, kidney stones. It can be one of the things, gallstones.
Yeah. Too
high calcium retention without enough magnesium.
So you said there were 4. So the GI map, comprehensive metabolic test.
Yep.
The HTMA. What's the 4th?
And then I can do a lot of testing, but these are I would say the main 4 I prefer to do up front is the IgG, food sensitivity testing. So we're testing foods based off your actual immunoglobulins in your immune system. So it's allowing us, like, especially when I'm doing the GI map stuff, like if someone already has a lot of gut issues, most likely they have developed some food sensitivities because of that. It starts to deteriorate the lining and creates that like leaky gut. You're not breaking things down properly. Your system kind of starts to like see it as like a foreign substance as it gets through like the intestinal lining.
Okay.
And if you're working on healing and bringing stress down in the GI tract and healing that, it's important to take out like a lot of the stuff that's really triggering an immune response. If you have a really high immune response that's too high from a certain food, then it's going to continue to create that inflammation and like create an
overactive system or whatever it is.
System, inflammation.
I noticed that because I have or will get heartburn from time to time.
And have low stomach acid.
So it's low stomach acid. So, and I notice
most of the time.
I notice it really only flares up when I'm stressed out. It's not even as much about like what I'm eating. Alcohol does. If I consume alcohol, I'll always get fucking heartburn.
Yeah.
But under real times of stress, that's when it'll pop up. And that's funny to me.
Yeah. Well, because the adrenal thyroid axis, it all works similarly. So a lot of times when you're putting that amount of stress in your system, your thyroid kind of takes a toll. Your thyroid's huge for stomach acid production. And so
it's not producing the amount of acid that it needs, and then that's causing an issue.
I would say PPIs, like proton pump inhibitors and antacids, are like one of the top prescribed medications in the U.S. People go in and they get acid reflux or heartburn or whatever, and they just throw them on a medication. And majority of the time, I would guess 95% of the time, it's low stomach acid. You will get that bubbling up in the esophagus if you're eating and consuming something when you don't have enough to break it down. And that's what people don't realize. And as you age, it can drop, but stress can drop. There's a lot of things that take a toll on your body's ability to produce it. And so, most people actually need to take stomach acid in those times
to be able to break
reduce
things down.
To break it down properly and whatever. It's like one of the big giveaways is if you eat a meal and you feel like it sits in your stomach right here like longer than it should, or you get really full after you eat and it just sits in there too long, it's typically like a pretty good sign, or you have a lot of indigestion or acid reflux. Yeah. You see any like food that's not broken down like in your stools, and like there's a lot of things people don't realize, like that's not normal.
That shouldn't be happening like that. Okay, so this whole body optimization, right? We want to go from top to bottom and see what kind of issues that people are dealing with.
Yeah.
So tell me your like vision for this. Like, where are you taking this as like a long-term plan? Do you have a place that you like want to go with it? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah. I think the more I do the one-on-one stuff and the consulting, the more I just truly want to educate people You know, in an ideal world, not that I want everyone to learn this stuff because it's really hard. It takes a long time to learn how to put these pieces together and whatever. But my goal is to teach people to look deeper.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like we get so many people that come in and they're like looking for the perfect diet or the whatever, you know, and especially been through several cycles of trying to diet and overtraining. It's like your body's stressed out, it's malnourished probably, you're not getting enough food. You've done this several times. Like there's something that's not.
Yeah, there's something that you're not even looking at.
Yeah, because you get to a certain point with your health and like your body, and it's pretty easy to maintain it, you know, because your system's in a better, more optimized place. And I mean, I still have stuff pop up and I'm learning more and I try things out and do all the things. But I think that's my goal with that. I'd love to educate on a larger scale and help people kind of put the whole picture together.
Yep.
But my long-term goal would be to just have bigger package clients where I'm only doing all the testing. They sign on for a larger chunk of time.
Yeah, because you get to work with them longer and
totally
help them more. Probably takes, well, I don't know. What do you think? How long does it take working with somebody to really get them optimized, right? Where you've learned enough about them, trial and error, try things. What does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, I would say most people who are actually ready to do the work, I would say stay on longer. I think it's the people who they're exhausted and they love listening to me talk about this stuff and it's so cool, but they still have a very naive, unrealistic expectation for their body, you know, because it's like business or anything else where one thing that works for me isn't going to work for someone else. And you can learn all these different ways to do things, but there's different pathways, there's all these different things. And so
what I'm saying though is on average, generally, before somebody really starts seeing results, finding out what's really wrong, how long does it normally take?
I would say it should be at least 5 or 6 months to be with somebody. Yeah, not to start to see things. No, I mean you can start to see things
in a month
pretty
or
quickly.
two. Yeah,
but it's like the goal isn't like, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds, and it's like your whole system is shot. Like I'm not concerned about your weight loss. That'll happen when we actually get it working how it should be. You know, like
I agree.
You're 10 steps ahead right now. So it's like, that's the people that I want to come in is like obviously that's your goal, but your main goal is healing your system and you're willing to take the steps to do it. Because a lot of the stuff you have to do in steps is tests are very in depth, especially if you have like a really terrible pathogen in your system that we've got to kill off, but your gut microbiome are off and your digestive organs aren't working properly, and you have your internal system is ripped to shreds from years of imbalances and all this stuff. And it's like, you're not digesting anything. I can't give you minerals yet because you're not going to absorb them. Yeah. You know, so it's like little baby steps. So it's like, you got to just be ready to do it for the long haul. And not everyone's that complicated either. You know, some people are quick.
Yeah, some people are easy.
Whatever. And then it's like, great, like we can jump ahead quickly and like really start to see it. But it's in those later months where you can make more progress because things are starting to like work together and function.
Adapt and change. And yeah, you know, it's funny, anytime dealing with nutrition or fitness, so it's not exactly that stuff, but like on that side of things where I'm used to, I actually would always tell people 1 to 5 years is the expectation. Is like a year is where you can make changes, right? Where it's like, I've done this for long enough, it's set in, I can really like go do this consistently, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then when I think about just from having done this for so long, it's like, but it's somebody who keeps doing it for like 5 years that had made those kind of changes.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, oh, now that's just who you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's not going anywhere. It would be hard to like care about your fitness or watch what you're eating or, you know, be mindful of those things and do it for 5 years and then all of a sudden stop.
Yeah.
Like it would, do you know what I mean? It's like, then it's
be a
one of those,
part of you.
Yeah. Then it's just like, oh, this is a thing I do and I don't really consciously think about doing it. You know, going to the gym now for me is like, it's just a thing that happens. I mean, it's like eating breakfast.
Yeah.
And so I always like to set people kind of with that, I don't know, larger expectation. Yeah. Because I think it helps set it a little bit different. But so I want to ask about you real quick though. Okay. So you obviously have a lot of work that you do. You are in shape, you're healthy, you do all these things. What are some of the habits that you have in your own personal life to stay healthy, to keep on top of your game, all that stuff?
Yeah. I've had a lot of very extremes in my life with just sports and competing and health. And, I think I've gained 40 or 50 pounds 3 different times to have to turn around and drop it off again. Like I went through all that. After my first show, my senior year of college, I was binge eating, had zero control. And it's like, oh, I'll just do another show to work it out.
And it'll get jacked again, yeah.
Yeah, it was for me, it was a control thing, and I felt out of control. And I felt guilty after the show with my food intake, and my life was chaotic. And so a lot of it was, emotional stuff and learning that process. Mm-hmm. But what was your first question?
But habits that you keep up, because you're not swinging back and forth now.
Right.
So there's got to be stuff that you do on a basically daily basis.
Yeah.
To kind of stay the way that you are. What are some of those things?
I'm huge on my sleep. I pretty much rule my life around being able to not do stuff too early in the morning because I want to go to sleep when I want to go to sleep, and I want to allow my body to sleep as long as it needs to. Now I'm doing some super early mornings, which is fine. Gives me a little more structure, and I do well once I'm up with some of that stuff. I just don't like to get up and rush. It's a thing for me.
You like to slow roll into the day, kind of get slowly going.
Or even if I'm go right to my desk, at least I'm not rushing off to go somewhere. To me that's stressful. Yeah. But no, every day, I'm huge on my water. I drink zero water. Try to get at least 3 of those a day. So that's 40 ounces.
You said there's a specific water you drink?
It's just it's a zero water filter. So
okay.
I just
Got it.
I would buy distilled water, but it's just a pain in the ass to carry up to my place all the time.
It is.
So yeah. My water is huge for me, just staying hydrated. I have my supplement regimens that changes.
But your sleep, do you have a sleep regimen? Do you have this particular thing that you practice? Or I think I heard you say you just want to be able to wake up whenever your body's ready to.
Correct.
Naturally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not one of...
This year's Winter Warrior is going to be at Harley-Davidson of North Scottsdale. The Winter Warrior is our charity to commemorate Mitch Winters, who took his own life in 2021. Mitch was a Marine veteran and Arizona police officer. What we do is put on a full day of fitness and community building. All of the money from this event goes to one local veteran family who we can completely change their life. The entrance to this event is a Winter Warrior shirt, and the cost is as much as you can donate. So it is completely a donation-based event. We just ask that you donate the money, get the shirt, and invite a friend to come with you. For more information, click the link in the bio, sign up, and meet us out here on February 22nd.
One of those people who's I'm in bed by this time every night because they feel my schedule is so different every day, and especially the last few months as I've been working on several different things or whatever. I could be sitting at my desk until 9 o'clock at night, and I'm just going to do it because I'm in the flow. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be I'm still feeling this, and no, I need to go to bed now, you know? So, I mean, that's pretty rare that I'll sit there till 9 or 10, but every once in a while it happens, and then I just go to bed late, might be 11 or 12. I'll just sleep in a little the next day,
Yeah.
So we just kind of roll with it. But my lifts now, I only lift twice a week. So I'm kind of at that place where I lift heavy. I don't lift a ton of volume, but I lift heavy when I do.
Really? Only twice a week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a conservation of time thing? Just hey, I want to maximize my time while I'm in there?
Not really. I love to lift. And I mean, I pulled up, sometimes I just forget how big I was, especially after I got done competing, because I was a women's physique and I'm 6'2". So it was in the off season, I'm I just feel huge to fill out and whatever. And I'm I couldn't even wear a bra because my back was so big. And I'm I don't even have a lot to put in there. I'm I don't even know, you know what I mean? So I just got to a point where after I competed, my body was shot. I was bottomed out. My system was so overstressed. And, I just was I want to be athletic again. I was a Division I basketball player. Never do I want to move like that again and run and all that stuff. But I just feel feeling like longer and leaner, kind
Yeah,
of.
totally.
But I love lifting and I love the shapes and all of that. So it's like, it took me a long time to like grasp that because every time I went in, I would just go like so hard, because that's like how I'm wired.
Yeah. Where you're used to after years of training that way.
Yeah. And so then like through the healing process of like getting my system back in a good place and like dropping my weight back down and getting to a healthy body fat, it was like, for a while, it was like 3 days a week. And then over the last, I would say year, I was like, I'm still like pretty big and solid. I was like, I don't even feel like I need to do 3 days a week,
Yeah. So the 2 days a week is just based off of that you don't want to keep adding on muscle, so you're doing enough to...
Because I mean, not everyone's like that, but I'm like, I just do. Like I can hold muscle pretty easy or build, or my back will just get big. And I'm like, my legs are, they look skinny in pants, but I'm like, they're still pretty big.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm good with twice a week. I'll go hard and heavy on those 2 days because I'm not really trying to get bigger or do anything. So for me, like the game, I call it a game because it sounds more fun, in my later life has been like, what's the least amount I can do to achieve the look I want to have and the health I want to have.
Minimum viable input to be able to get the maximum out of it.
Yeah. And it's like, for a long time, a lot of people have gotten to a certain point lifting 5 days a week and cardio every day. And it's like they have that in their mind because they think that's what needs to happen rather than like how optimized it is for them.
Totally.
Yeah. And it's like, well, are you trying to build? Like, are you gaining muscle doing this, or is it even working for you? Have you ever tried only doing 3 days a week and dropping your rep range and keeping your volume low, but like hypertrophy training?
Yeah.
It's not high rep, high volume. And I used to do that stuff back when I competed, and it was stupid thinking back because I'm like, I was just putting more stress on my system. I wasn't letting my system recover, and I'm like, I just have to eat a lot of food when I train that much. And I don't want to eat that much food.
I know.
I eat a good amount now just to, keep my system in that place. So yeah, it's just more about like my body, how it responds, keeping the stress down, allowing more time for myself. And I like to do cardio. Like I don't mind the stairs. I like the Stairmaster. In July.
That is my enemy. The
really?
Stairmaster is my fucking enemy.
Yeah. So I had a guy that I connected with through Threads actually, who was like, oh, let's shoot like a cool like video at the gym content thing. And I was like, okay, that'd be cool. Just collaborate on something. And so I was like, I'm gonna just like lean out for the next week and like see what happens. And a lot of times like I had a lot of stress with family stuff years prior. So I'm like, I would try to, lean out a little bit and push a little bit. My system would just it would go like a week or two and then it would kind of like halt me,
Yeah.
It'd, like run into kind of like a roadblock, like be too much for my system. So I was like, oh, I'll just like for a week, just kind of see. And I was like, wow, that like came off easier than I thought. And I'm like, good. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing this. And it's, I would say still slower, but I think I've dropped like 12, 13 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Since then. And I was like, okay, like this is what but it's been easy.
What I've really noticed for myself with like being in shape, right, or how you physically look is the amount of time and energy that it takes to be at like my peak physical condition is 10 times more than what it is to be like where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like now I have like my little routine that I go into the gym with. And I actually do like, it's kind of fun. I like going in every day.
Yeah.
It's not like I lift super hard, but it's more kind of like it's a breakup time for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like I work all day, all morning, all day. Then I go back to work at night. So I kind of have this little time to like break it up in the day.
Yeah.
But so anyhow, but what you were saying about like, so my biggest it's like 232, 233 in there.
Yeah.
But being where I'm at now, I'm like 210 is so much easier because you don't have to eat so much.
Right.
You don't have to lift so hard. You don't have to like, I remember just being like exhausted from the gym, doing you're pushing so hard. And so it's like, I've kind of just accepted being in good shape. Yeah. But not a monster. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's funny is like I think back to when I was in that competing mode. I mean, it'll be 10 years in May since I competed at my last pro show, which was crazy. But I'm like, I don't remember being in that mode where I just like wanted to just have like striations in my glutes and like whatever. It seems so weird now. I was like, why was I so obsessed with that?
Why did I care so much about that?
Like I just loved it. That's all I wanted, and I was whatever. And now I'm like,
but I wish that I would have cared about that. Mine during my 20s was partying. So you, I feel like, even did it. Somehow that is a little bit better than what I feel like I was doing.
I mean, I was still tearing my body apart, though. Maybe not the best way.
They probably aren't about the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just going too extreme in any way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, like, fucks you up so bad.
Yeah.
But, okay, so your sleep is very big for you.
Yeah, sleep, my workouts. I do,
like your workouts?
I do like the Stairmaster, so I'll do that, you know.
And then what does your, like, nutrition regimen kind of look like? Yeah,
so I do 4 meals a day. I used to try to get 5, and then I'd like miss one sometimes, could be busy and whatever. And I'm like, I'm just gonna do 4, and it works well for me. So I just eat more 4 times a day. Yeah, high protein. I would say my carbs are pretty moderate.
But you seem really big about your gut health and stuff. Like, is there specific things that you do for gut health with what you eat?
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know what's normal for most people or not for other people. I'm just big on sources, like fresh produce, organic, fruits and vegetables. I do like everyone's against fruit, but I'm like, it's amazing. So I do like organic orange juice in the morning. I'll do lots of berries and strawberries and stuff.
Yep.
Just the sources and stuff. Like, people don't realize like fiber and berries and polyphenols, like all those are things that like feed your commensal healthy bacteria. So a lot of people are cutting out fruit. They don't get in enough fiber. Like fiber isn't just about pooping. It's about like how your system feeds off of it. And, you know, there's a lot of different benefits to it. So it's like, that's a big thing.
I do notice I feel my like optimum health is when I'm eating a ton of lean meat with a lot of fruit. Obviously like vegetables too, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But fruit, because it's got more carbs in it, it's got more of an energy source to it.
Yeah.
And I do that instead of like rice. Yeah. I do feel a lot better. I mean, everything. Just eating like oranges and apples and berries and just simple shit.
Right.
But the backside to it though is I feel like I'm constantly going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That is the only downside. Now it's a little better with like Uber Eats, but you got to order the shit like every day.
Yeah, especially if you want it like fresh, because it does spoil quick.
There's
like,
nothing.
You can go to Costco, but when you're by yourself, you're like, I'm only gonna go through so much of this.
How much are you really gonna eat?
Yeah.
And a blueberry sucks after about a week.
It is the pain. Yeah, it is a pain.
It's a thing.
I lived above a grocery store before I moved here from Minnesota.
That's kind of nice.
It was the best. And I'm like, I would just get kind of lazy too. Like, I wouldn't buy enough. So I did feel like I was going down there every day. But I was like, but it's still nice. Because I like didn't have eggs this morning. And I woke up at 6 a.m. I'm like, damn it. Like, that's what I want to eat today. You know, like I eat eggs every morning. And my orange juice and whatever. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to like Instacart it here. Well, and then I get there to like 8:30. And I was like, damn it. I just wish I lived above the store.
Next door to like a grocery store or something would be like the best thing ever.
I know. But yeah, I do my probiotics. I do like my supplement stuff. And I mean, all that stuff carries over. Yeah. There's certain protocols that I do for that. My water intake.
So there is one question I wanted to ask you before we end everything. What is the number one lab testing that you would say for women to get done? Specifically, if you had to pick one, do you know what I mean, that would help most women that they probably aren't doing? Like of the ones that I'm doing for the most part? Of anyone. Like, what do you think that most women who probably don't get any kind of lab testing done, do you know what I mean? They don't know anything about them. Like, what would you recommend for them to go do? I would first want to know their symptoms though. Like, if they're having no problems or if they're having a lot of problems, that would make a difference. But so you would say actually it's first not testing. It's like go to talk to somebody about what your problems are. Yeah, but I still think that everybody should have a baseline like when I say comprehensive, it's like you go to a walk-in labs place and you're like, oh, I want to get a men's panel, and it's like some of those are good, but they're not showing you all the pieces. So the reports that I do, I have made. So I have come up with these
tests based on the way that I want to read them and how I want to look at them in your body. And I think that's important because whether you have issues or not, you should know, especially if you don't know or don't think you have issues, is getting that baseline. Mm-hmm. Because if something is off, then it makes it a lot easier to kind of compare and to see, what's off. But yeah, a lot of women have never had that kind of testing done. And there are a lot of things that can easily be fixed. And I would say one of my most popular services is my health and hormone consultation. So I do a lot of just consulting, and I have the clients that I work with one-on-one, but I also take people in to just do these tests or testing packages, do a full intake, and help them and understand it all and send them off with like some protocols.
Yeah, or what
that kind of a thing. But you can see so much just from the panels and comparing it to their health history and their current symptoms and their current lifestyle and helping them do that, because they can make a lot of changes in healthy habits that they can carry over. Or if there is a couple things that are maybe a little elevated or super deficient, it's like, you have now B12. Like, how are you, like, your energy probably sucks.
Yeah, you probably feel like shit. You don't even know that you feel like shit.
Yeah.
Because in the comparison, you're just so used to it now.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of things that could be like helping and preventative for future things too. Mm-hmm. And vitamin D is such a huge thing for your immune system, and even estrogen for men and women. There's
so, but you would say some kind of going in and talking to someone and getting a full panel done.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be different depending on who you get it from. Mm-hmm. So you just go to anyone and be like, I want my hormones run. Because if you go to your doctor, they're going to run like a basic metabolic panel and maybe a TSH for thyroid, which is not enough to assess thyroid function. You know what I mean? It's just not comprehensive enough.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and a lot of it has to do with, like, especially for women, you get them drawn at a certain time of the month if you're still cycling. If not, it's not going to be an accurate representation of ratios. Yep. A lot of it has to do with comparison and that kind of thing. And how are you deciphering these? Because if you're just in the range, which is most people like, oh, you're in the range, you're good. And it's like, when you're at the bottom, here, here, and here, and this is at the top of the range, and you have this symptom and this, it's like, that's what I call more of the integrative side. Yeah. Functional labs.
Yeah, I'm making the map and seeing how it all works together.
Functional labs are different than normal labs. Our functional ranges are different.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got to get somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay. All right. We're going to call there. Am I going here? Right here? All right. Thank you guys for watching. This is Aggressively Balanced. If you got anything from this that you really liked, please send it to somebody else. We'll catch you next time.
This is Casie Shepherd. You can find me at spectrumwellness.biz, on my Instagram at Casie Lee Shepherd, and all of my info is also in my Instagram bio.